Hello everyone. Hi Uma, Mila,
Hello.
Sanjan.
Hi, good morning, Mila, Karthik.
Hi.
Good morning everyone. We just give it a few more minutes for people to join in. I know we are meeting quite early after the last week's call. I just wanted to get some kind of a cadence started, and based on the feedback, Thursday's EP was good. We just went ahead and set it up. Though I have not received accept on the invitation from all the members. You can still go ahead and just get started with some discussion, mostly around the operating model and logistics of the work group. So let's just wait for a few more minutes and then we get started. I hope this time is good and comfortable for you folks in China.
Yeah, it's actually 11, so it's great for me.
Okay. Sure. Hi, Shengwen.
Hi. Hi, I'm late for this meeting.
No problem. So I think I have set up recording for this Zoom call and not yet figured out where exactly we need to be uploading it. If there's going to be a dedicated YouTube channel for the same, but nevertheless, we can just go ahead and find out those details. In fact, I've even sent an email to the Cncf mailing list owner to give us a mailing list for this operating work group. So we'll see how that comes through. All right, I think I'll start sharing my screen. We can get started. We are 5 minutes past time. I hope my screen is visible.
It is.
Okay. So I think last time we spoke about the charter. We just went through it very quickly, and I just tried to crystallize our notes here, our intros, our motivations, and what we discussed about the charter, the fact that we needed a few more goals and basically try and address some of the comments that were raised by Jennifer and Tim. And we also went ahead and discussed our meeting timings and cadence, the need for separate meetings. As you can see, I've been asking folks from the EU side on what a good time is for them. So 5 p.m. London time is what they seem to suggest. So we'll see how we can go ahead and accommodate that. I think different personnel can attend these meetings, which I think still should be fine as long as we're able to get some work done asynchronously. And yep, so this is what we did. And on similar lines, I thought there might be a few other things that would be good to thrash out at the beginning of the work group discussions before we delve into the actual chaos engineering practices and discussions and presentations. So there is a mailing list. I have requested for a mailing list, so I think that might still come. I'll get you all an update on that once we have something around it. I see that new work groups that are getting created have some kind of a discussion around what would be a good name for the work group. It's interesting. If you have any thoughts on what we should name this, we've just called it Chaos Engineering Work Group today. If you feel that is a little too simple and want to have something that's more interesting, you could do that. I've seen some very interesting names for different work groups in CNCF. So feel free to suggest any other names that you would like for this work group. And I posted the recording of our previous meeting, which we did on Google Hangouts here as a shared video on Google Drive. But I think we'll need to identify a place to put the YouTube recordings. Do you have any idea of how you can create a new channel within CNCF, Mila or anyone? Or is it something we have to request formally? I'm not sure whom to request for it. Do you have any idea about these things?
I don't really know, but I can check with Ihor later.
Yeah, that'll help a lot. We can probably start pushing our videos into that playlist. Yeah, I think one of us, maybe you can control the credentials for that, and or I could do that as well. So we can go ahead and identify that. The next one was about a Git repository. I see some work groups end up having a repository, in fact, with a dedicated organization as well, like the GitOps working group. They seem to have their own repository. They have and the charter and the what and why, the principles, as well as the artifacts that the group is generating is all placed within that Git repository. I'm sure they also have Google Doc, but eventually they keep shifting things to the repository. So that's one approach. Or the other one is to have something under the CNCF, similar to the CNF work group. I think the CNF work group is a little bit more matured in terms of how long it has been operating and things like that. So I'm not really sure where this fits or we need a repository at all. But I think if you do tutorials and demos, when I say tutorials, mostly documentation around how some people can go ahead and tackle a certain situation or a certain failure that they're already getting, what all to test, if we are making some recommendations. If the white paper needs to be stored in a persistent location rather than living in a Google Doc, if it needs to go into a repository, then what would that be? Where would we store details of these minutes and the individual presentations that users are coming and doing in this work group, etc. So I think we need a repository, in my opinion. I'm open to hearing thoughts from you all. So what do you think? Is it too early for the working group to go ahead and create a repository? We can do this later in time, or we can go ahead and add this. I think I'm sure just like the mailing list YouTube channel, there is a procedure to ask for a repository like this, maybe Amy or Ihor. You need to speak to them for something like this. What do you think? And what model do you think works best?
If you ask me, I think it's a good idea to have it under CNCF, one of the repositories. But both will work for me. A more important thing is we should start speaking to end users, and we need a way to capture all those results in one place. So I see there is a need for sure to put the information together somewhere in one place, for the public usage. I'm okay with anything, Karthik.
All right. This is one of the AIs we will take along with mailing list and YT before our next.
I don't know. What about what do others think? Sanguine, what do you think?
Oh, I think maybe Okay, we will create a repo on our Cncf organization, and it is a single repo or just in this Cncf work group.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I think we are in agreement. Since we're all in agreement around this. So
Okay.
that's great.
I find that many tanks, such as tomorrow we find a network tank. We also they are building a service mesh work group, and also we find then and before we also we has chaos engineering work group in Kubernetes organization. Do you remember this? Yeah, I find that we have a chaos engineering work group before in Kubernetes organization. Can we combine this together, or we are this work group is different, or we can try them combine them together, this work group.
It's a good question. So, Shingwan, are you asking that there was another chaos engineering work group before this? Is that the question?
Another example, yeah. Service mesh work group.
Yeah, so what you're trying to say is there is a service mesh work group as well, and they have actually put their repository under the Cncf. Is that what you're alluding to, Shingwen?
Link. Pardon, I don't get your point.
Okay, so I was just trying to understand the differences that you gave and the question you asked. So one is the example of a service mesh work group. So you basically say that that's also another work group that you see carrying a Git repository. And it's also something that they are in Cncf. So that's another reference, an example for us to sort of go ahead and create a repository. I sort of took it like that. And is that fair understanding of what you said?
Maybe you just want to put this service mesh. Oh, I think it's don't have a repo, then a single repo for this.
Okay.
Let's try to have, this is, chaos engineering is a new work group. There was a work group that started a long time back and it was discontinued. So this is basically prior to having any of this chaos engineering work by multiple projects, right? So now we are multiple projects and we are trying to do a chaos engineering work group to coordinate across projects and across tags. So I think it's that's the idea of having this work group. It'll be good to have a new repo. If there was a repo called chaos engineering work group, we can try to reuse, but I'm not sure if we had one.
Yeah, I remember there was a work group that sort of started, the goal of which was to create the chaos engineering landscape. And I remember there were a few calls that we did, and Chris chaired it. And I think once a landscape was created, the group sort of dissolved. And it was understood at that point of time that the chaos engineering work or initiatives would be carried over to the agenda of the tag application delivery, SIG app delivery at that point of time. So I think that was what happened to the older chaos work group. But I think the folks that created this work group or joined this work group were also part of the chaos engineering Slack channel on CNCF today. I think that's the one in which Mila and the Litmus community team and others are active today. So there are folks there, and I also did see interest from some of them in this work group and added themselves as interested parties on the work group charter. So I suppose we can consider this as the sort of work group representing chaos engineering interest. And if there are some artifacts like a Git repository or a document or anything like that, that has already been put in place by the previous team, then we'll be happy to sort of amalgamate that into this. That's a good point that you brought up. We will take a look at do we have any artifacts from there.
I just posted on the chat. I think Shengwin was referring to that. There was a separate org created called Chaos Eng.
Okay, work group chaos engineering. There is a separate organization that was created long back. Cool. This is interesting. Yeah.
So we can, we tried to do that, and it just got merged into SIGAP delivery at that time. We can try to create it under Cncf. That may be a good one, because this was primarily started by TOC, this idea of having a cross tag coordination. That's my opinion.
Cool. I think this is a good topic. Please feel free to share your views on this document also. You can either write your comments. It has edit permissions, so you can put comments here. You can write your thoughts directly onto the doc. Yeah, I also feel that we should sort of bring it under Cncf. I think that's the model many work groups are taking. Having said that, yeah, I'm open to listening to other opinions here as well. It's a good discussion to sort of have. We might need to decide on this at some point. But yeah, open to thoughts. Leave it as an item we can all ponder over at this point of time. Any other thoughts from Shangjan, Mila around this, or do we go to the next item?
I don't have any thoughts.
Okay, so I think the other development over the last week with respect to the work group is the creation of some goals and non-goals from Alois. I hope you're able to see my screen, which is showing the work group charter now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we had some background problem statement and goals and non-goals section we went through last meeting. And we were basically interested in adding more goals as one of our agenda items. So Alois has gone ahead and added that section. And he basically recommended to start the charter with a very quick background and the goals before we delve into the problem statement and questions, challenges, and rest of the sections. I think that made sense. So this is the new section that has been added, which is essentially a summarization of what we have already put in the problem statement and expected outcome. So that's what he has put here. Basically summarized that, which I think is quite useful and is an appropriate summarization of what we already have. I'll just go through that very quickly. One is to establish, the overall goal would be to establish chaos engineering as a widely adopted practice for cloud native application development. I would say operations as well, right? Application development is definitely one of the new areas where chaos is much being used. That is the non-prod usage, usage in CI/CD, usage by developers, all falls under this bracket. Maybe there is also an ops angle to this. Application development and delivery. That's one thought. And it's summarized, the overall goal is split into 3 goals, sub-goals. One is to have a tool-independent methodology on how to conduct scenarios and what are the patterns, evaluation of tests, the results that people get out of an experiment, either in whatever form they extract the result. And good practices in application delivery workflows, how people can do it in CI/CD. The security testing part of it has been added here, and observability is also something that has been referenced here. We've talked about it in the below sections as well. The next goal is about doing more complex scenarios in more complex environments, doing it in multi-tenant environments and hybrid environments that are both cloud native as well as not really cloud native. People who are doing migrations to Kubernetes or maybe still re-architecting their applications might have older models of deployments in the cloud or on their own data centers. They might be running monolith applications. So how do you extend native, cloud native chaos engineering patterns to those kind of environments also, and work in a hybrid model. So I think this is a fair summarization, I feel, of things that are reflected and also put in a very nice way by Alois. I think if you folks have anything to add to the individual, the items within a sub goal, or maybe add a new sub goal itself, or have something else within this overall goal statement, please feel free to add that. And there's also something that's talked about here in the working model. Educational materials and white papers is the eventual outcome, right? And there's also something about tutorials to handle specific scenarios, which basically I had a question on. Are we talking about, when we say handle, are we saying about mitigations, or are we talking about how to inject the specific failures? What do we mean by tutorials that show how to handle scenarios? That's a little bit ambiguous, so I have created the question, but otherwise the work model is very clear. There are some guidelines. We will put out common guidelines, and we will be doing some outreaches to the community. Community involves both the end users as well as projects in the Cncf landscape. Those that probably are not within the landscape, also there are a lot of other tools that we come across generally, which are doing in a way cloud native chaos, but are not part of the Cncf landscape. So as part of the working group, we sort of give an opportunity for them to come and present their part of the story as to why they created something, what purpose is it solving, and why they took a particular approach, and add it as part of valid patterns going around today, and bring that learning back into the white paper. So I think this is a good set of goals and working model with elaboration in the subsequent sections. I just wanted to check very quickly on your opinions to this. Do you would you like to add something here, or is there any comments that you would like to make on some of these things? Please feel free to do that. As far as the working model goes, I think we got started with the white paper a little bit in terms of its structure, etc., and we'll continue to iterate over that. And we have been doing the survey as part of an outreach. The survey might be a little bit limited in terms of the questions it is asking, but it gives us an idea of general mood or perspective of people. we will get more details when we bring them, onto the work group meetings and talk more and sort of get stuck in more and they start participating more. I think that would be great. So we will have that. I saw a note from Mila last time that she would like to invite folks from the Kiosk Blade, and I see Shangjan has joined today. Thank you, Mila, and thank you, Shangjan, for joining. So we would like to hear how the different projects are looking at different problems in the chaos engineering space. So yeah, I think we're sort of starting to do these things. Hope to continue and put formal goals for on a short-term basis for, let's say, each work group meeting. Before we get started with that work group call, we can identify what we will achieve as part of that sync up in terms of getting some end users to speak. What is the project that will be presenting that day in terms of the challenges that they are seeing within their user group, so to say, right? So I think this summarization is quite good. Are there any thoughts about this summarization of the goals and how we are going to achieve this? All right, you can go ahead and place your thoughts within here. I sort of understand that we are all on the same page. I'm sure there will be other thoughts coming in from the folks in the other meeting. We will still get them added on here.
Hello.
Yeah.
Maybe I think maybe we want to build a chaos engineering ecology, such as we can share different chaos scenarios together and share our some tutorials and other things on ecology. And maybe I try to find a great way for some users to talk together and to communicate a plan for us, our plan to discuss and to share their experience there and something. I think maybe we can build a website or some plan to share something and to discuss something, to share their chaos scenarios and something. Maybe I don't know. I have explained my ideas.
Yeah, I think we could do that. That's great.
Wait a moment.
That's great. Yes, I am also in agreement. I think we could do something like
yeah. I see my idea.
We could sort of create a GitHub pages once we have the repository. We could create a GitHub pages web-based website.
Oh yeah.
Different scenarios and possible mitigations around it. It's a great idea. So,
you can find in chat input and someone has typed in my ideas and here.
Yeah, makes sense. Shingan. I think Sayam was also asking that question. Yes, these tutorials, Sayam will are about specific failure scenarios that we might want to put together and go ahead and talk about how people can simulate them and how people can mitigate issues there. Basically, information about all that you need to know about handling certain specific failures. I think the white paper did have a section for that which we sort of went ahead and placed summary for. It's not detailed. We didn't go ahead and elaborate yet, but there are there was one of the requirements, one of our goals with respect to the white paper, even before the work group charter sort of came about, to identify some common failures that people are facing, right? It could be different types of errors or different type of outages, you can say. Network issues, resource exertions, improper application, HA, incorrect configurations, things like that. We would probably go ahead and list these scenarios as, I think, which is what I suppose is being talked about as the failure scenarios here, these specific scenarios. So we can go ahead and list them in one place and provide some detail around it. And then, like Shengwen said, make it available as part of a web page, maybe on GitHub pages or something, and give a single point of resource. Or we can also add resources there that people can direct themselves to other projects if necessary in way of examples. The idea here would be to keep it more at a scenario level and what people can do generally, and the means of applying that test or mitigation can be through various tools of their choice. Right? That would be the idea. Let's see another chat message. Yeah. True. Yes, it can have concepts and terminologies and general problems and solutions. Kubernetes issues becoming chaos experiments. Perfect. I think that's another thought we probably can add here. I'm doing it on your behalf, so please feel free to go ahead and change this or edit this, add your own thoughts as well. Just noting this, Kubernetes issues turning into potential experiments. The community can be raising that in one place, right? So different tools can have their own implementations of the same thing. All right. Coming to terminologies, that's another item on our meeting agenda list. So we created the meeting doc, the work group meeting notes. I just created a section called working material and placed something called as a glossary here. There's something that is also going on within the white paper. There was an idea to create a glossary as part of our white paper goal. I think we can keep it separate from the white paper. It could be a general entity of its own, right? That's how I see some of the work groups and tags handling it. They have a glossary and a terminology page or a doc that I think we talked about glossary sometime here. Not sure if we went ahead and recorded it, but that was one of the ideas as part of the white paper. So we can create that glossary. It's like a low-hanging fruit. We already have some work done on this front. And we've received some help from one of the GSOR interns on the Litmus project, who has created a glossary or on chaos engineering in general. So we'd like to put that up here as part of the work group as an artifact. So that would also go into the Git repository, whatever we are discussing here. Earlier in this meeting, we talked about the repository, so we will have a section dedicated to it. So that's one of the things that we would do. Just like the white paper and charter, we have another doc for a glossary, and it will find its place. It's a live thing. You can keep adding there as and when more terms in the chaos world is getting popular. I just wanted to bring that to the notice of the team. The other discussion point is something we don't need to do it right away, but something we can eventually consider. So while we create these chaos scenarios that are being talked about in the charter here, we can do so with the help of a sample application. It makes the story more coherent, right? You have because many organizations and teams will be able to sort of identify with their own tooling, right? It's like a common microservices application can be used to create all these scenarios. Common microservices application residing on Kubernetes, and you could do different kind of faults against it. The application themselves, the application itself, comprised of different kinds of microservices, right? So sock shop is an example, maybe hipster shop. There's another Cncf project called Potato Head, which I'm sure you might have all heard of. It's being maintained by folks at App Delivery. It's basically a microservices application that comes together to form the different body parts of a simple picture here called Mr. Potato Head. And there is continuous effort in increasing the profile and complexity of this app. I know that folks here are working on adding stateful components to it and generally making it more sophisticated to represent a real world microservices application. So when we create our scenarios for chaos that we're talking about, right, we might do well to do it against a common application. If the scenario is something that you cannot apply on a regular application and needs a dedicated example, app example, or an infra or a component example to be able to explain, that's perfectly all right. But I think for most scenarios that people get started with, explaining it in the context of a sample microservice application would make it easier for people to relate. So we can do that with Potato Head, right? If you have any other applications that you have been using to demonstrate to your community and you feel is more popular, please feel free to add that here. I think Potato Head being curated within Cncf makes it a more sort of better example. That's my opinion. So we might have to see how to build in the security story for it and how to build the stateful chaos part of it into Potato Head. So I think by the time we get there, the application might have evolved, the project might have evolved, or we could prepare other examples. So please feel free to share your opinions on this aspect. There is something on chat, so let me see that. Yes. Yes, I think we were getting to the same discussion. Potato Head or Sock Shop. Potato Head, I think Sock Shop is good. Only flip side being it's not been maintained, I feel, for a long time. Folks have left it there, and there are a lot of individual variants inspired by Sock Shop that I see that are cropping up. Yeah, Potato Head is something that incidentally has also been proposed as a sandbox project. So I think folks from different tags might get involved and make it a good reference example. So it might be a good choice. So feel free to place your thoughts there. Yeah, thanks. So that's one of the things, and that's all I had as agenda items to discuss for today. So amongst the TBD items and maybe AIs, maybe Mila would probably taking this up. Maybe you can have a chat with Ihor and mailing list and probably get some details on it.
Yep, will do.
Sure, thank you. On the workgroup name, like I was saying, maybe Siam can also pitch in. We were just saying there are some interesting workgroup names people are coming up with. We went ahead with a plain chaos engineering workgroup, which is not what we are doing. But if you have any interesting names you want to give to it, then you can suggest. On a GitHub repository and what we're going to do with the older repository and how we do this, I think leave it as an open item and discuss it with folks on the EU side as well. Don't want to really take AIs on this right away, so that we get more data points on how to proceed on this. So we will anyways record this in the meeting notes. So yeah, that's another item I feel would probably go on to the next work group Cncf as well. We went through the goals and non-goals. If you have anything that you would like to add here, please do. But I think it's quite looks really great and good summarization of what we would like to do. We will get started with the glossary and place that here probably in the upcoming week. And we will discuss around Potato Head further as a good application. I think as we go into the work group, start actively documenting scenarios, we'll get a better idea. And would like to seek more opinions on this, similar to the GitOps. I mean, similar to the GitHub repository. I think that's all I had for today's call. Chaos work groups. I think Sockshop, we have votes from Siam, Umar, I would say myself too. Great. Cool. I think that's all I had for this call. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss on the agenda? I will transfer this, I'll probably create some more coherent notes on what we discussed and share it. But is there anything else you would like to bring up? Any thoughts, either on the agenda items, or maybe something inside of the work group, or maybe on the white paper that needs to be discussed? Cool. All right then. Thank you for taking the time and attending this call. I think, yeah, about survey. Yes, there is a survey that is ongoing. It is linked inside of the charter, working group charter document. I think we got around 36 responses. We had 31 when we met last time. So we have 5 more responses, which is great. We are making some progress. So as we meet often, as we sort of get underway with the working group agenda items, I think this will increase more. I'm sure this is being advocated by different teams. I think Siam, you might also be interested in sort of putting this up on Twitter, or in your community, so people go ahead and add more responses there. I'm sure that will have a great impact too, and we will be able to sort of get some findings from here and make observations from this survey. I think it's going in the right direction. It is a little bit slow, as you would expect, but yeah, it's going on.
I just want to chime in here. I think last week at our pre-kickoff meetings, someone said that they want to put in some more questions regarding security chaos. Is there any update on that, or?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think Aradhana had some interest last time. She went ahead and added some goals into the charter, and then also took the survey link, but I'm not sure if she's not already added it. So we could do a follow-up and so basically check if she would like to add those questions. I think there is one general question here around security. What is the obstacle? Not really about obstacle. It's more about, yeah, you could still say what is an obstacle that people are facing. Is it security concerns, or what kind of chaos testing are you doing? What kind of practitioners do you have? Which is a couple of questions that we have here. More would be good, but let's see if Aradhana still goes ahead and adds that. I think is the new respondents can go ahead and add their security things there. So that's a good one. I'm adding that as an item here. Yeah, so probably I'll share that in the meeting notes. We should take a look. We'll get more details about it next week's call. Sure, I think we can keep coming up with more surveys of different kinds as we go, right, Sayam? Maybe for chaos practitioners, we can even talk about what kind of failure they face most. That would be another interesting survey. So yeah, we can keep going ahead and doing more surveys as we go and as the agenda evolves. Cool. I think with that, we can wrap up this session of this call. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for making this this meeting. I'll post the notes on the Slack channel, and we will go ahead and work on our AIs individually and post updates on Slack and on the meeting notes here. Feel free to improve or add more stuff to the white paper and charter as you feel fit.
I have a question. Is the work group name confirmed?
Sorry, Shangshan, could you please repeat?
I think we are just proposing the work group name. We can ask more people and then take a decision.
Yes, I think this is something more people would like to chime in. I think a lot of people seem to agree chaos work group is good enough.
Yeah.
We folks from we had a few names, or sort of being put up for the app enablement working group, and the GitOps working group had a lot of discussions around the naming as well. So I'd like to give the opportunity to for more people to sort of place their opinions here.
Okay.
And also, I think it is a good idea to present all our feedback through this document, through this charter document to in one of the tags, and then involve more people, and then we can schedule a call and where we can take the decision, maybe in the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm cool with chaos working group, by the way.
Great.
Thank you. See you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
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 You again. Bye.